So, hi, I'm Aleks James, and welcome to What's Your Story? Now, my guest today could be introduced as any of the following. He's a fantastic artist and photographer for music, and he's a musician, and he's also a DJ. I didn't realize you were a DJ, Nick, but
I wouldn't consider myself a DJ actually, but hello viewers. My name's Nick Elliott. I'm a rock art photographer, and it's lovely to be here. It's
yeah,
been
great.
a long time getting here, isn't it, Alex?
Oh my goodness, yeah, the amount of times we've had to cancel this. So, because, and what I wanted to say about you, one of the things that I've picked up about you, which I connect really well into, is that you are really a caring, ordinary sort of bloke who's had a fantastic, and he's having a fantastic career. But I think it's come from your love of people, because whenever I've heard any of your interviews, what shines through is your absolute passion for family history, for connecting in, all of the sort of stuff that I'm really interested in. So
Right.
yeah, we kind of go around that, and how you are just a bloke, Nick Elliott, really.
Well, that's it. I mean, I'm a great believer in, I'm a very relationship orientated type of a guy. I think not only in this business but life generally, you've got to like people, and that's what it's about. Yeah, in respect to the family thing, I have a very, very deep connection to my family, my upbringing. It's what made me what I am today, Alex, And despite where you go in life, and I'm not really talking about me personally, but I believe that you should never lose sight of where you came from, your roots, It's you don't lose yourself up your own arse wherever you go, and for me that is one of the most important rules that I live by,
Mm.
and you should be touchable, you should be social, pleasant, friendly, and you should just be loving and concerned for people, certainly where a situation where you've got fans. For me, again, when I was a youth, in my teens, I mean, I've always been around the music scene big time. It is a second passion to what I do, and many a time I stood there, in my RAF greatcoat with an album under my arm, waiting for these guys that were my heroes to come out the stage door in the rain, in the snow, hoping to get a glimpse, hoping to do an autograph and the rest of it. And the people just walk by you and swooped off in a car, you know. And I've never bought into that kind of thought at all. For me, no player is bigger than the club.
But I want to go back to your dad, because I think he had great foresight in well, I mean, part of my work, on the other side of work that I do, is all about continued bonds, life capturing,
Yeah.
encouraging people to capture their history, not only for times when perhaps they may not remember or they may be gone, but also for future generations. And you say your dad, he had this passion about capturing family events, didn't he?
Oh
And he
yeah. I mean, that
died.
that was that was a really big gig, with my family at 51. We call it 51. That's because that was the number of the house.
Yeah.
Dad was a happy hobbyist of a photographer, um, and but Dad, he got into it in a very early age, and he was doing photography before it was financially viable for a lot of people to do it. And there was two big gigs at 51, and that was just family holiday in the summer and Christmas. And my dad documented the whole events, you know. And I think a lot of it comes from my background of my mum, because my mum was a true East Ender, and that story is totally, totally fascinating. War years, etc., etc. But the East End bond of people being together, family, very family orientated. Everybody helps each other, that kind of vibe. And that, I think, is where it comes from. Despite the fact that my dad wasn't an East Ender, he was Peterborough born and bred. But the whole thing, it was always such a big deal.
And
And
why is that?
as little lads, sorry.
kind of losing that, I think, and I think that's why people have so many mental health issues now, because that family, that bond, that being together isn't the same as it used to be for a lot of people, is it? People are sort of
No,
living further away from family. So
yeah,
having history, I can kind of relate to where your passion for people and that shows in all of your photography, because your photography, although it's very artistic, there's a warmth to it. You can, you get like,
thank
that's,
you.
I can tell that when you've taken a photo, no matter who it is, that you've had a conversation with them beforehand. That
Uh, Not in all cases. Not in all
really,
cases. No, not at all. I
really,
mean, obviously, I've kind of met a lot of these guys, a lot of these people, and I've spent a lot of time with them. But no, not really. You see, for me, it's not about photography. Photography is purely, or it is the medium that I use to capture the art that I produce. It's all about art. That's what it's about for me. Everything I do, it's not just about pictures or photographs. No, that's dog shit. It's all about art. And with the people that, certainly the images and that you've seen, and the people that I work with, for me, it's all about getting to the inside person. And I hope that every image I take represents that.
well,
We've all got,
Mark,
sorry.
I thought that, when I'm looking at these two, I'm thinking he's obviously taken the time because the people come through, you can see them.
Yeah, well, it's true characters is what I'm after, and again, it's that connection. It's not about recording a time and all this kind of nonsense. A photograph is a capture of time, and no, I don't buy into that at all. It's literally what you want to create, how you create it, and it's what the artist, i.e., me, is there to do. Not just take a reportage picture. That's not what it's about at all. It's about getting inside. It's getting inside the feeling. And I like to think that whether it be male or female, when people view the images and the work that I do, they have their own kind of concept of what that image means to them. It's not a generalization. It's you look at it and you go wherever you want to go, in your head, emotionally, in your heart, whatever it may be. And that's what it's about. It's a lot deeper for me,
Wow.
seriously deep.
So there I am looking at a photograph, and I'm thinking that you had a conversation which you may not have had. That's all in my head because of the
Yeah.
way the photographs me. That makes you even more extraordinary. I think that you can capture the essence of a person like that. I mean,
Well,
they
thank you for saying that.
I do, and well, I mean, I think your work is fantastic. So, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you're doing. Wait, whatever you want to say, really. I'll just, chug alongside you and ask questions.
Okay. Well, excuse me. Obviously, there is a lot to tell. But if we're talking about what I'm doing at the minute, I've kind of made a bit of a sidestep, into something which I title as conceptual dark art. I think it's a project, in all honesty, Alex, that's been here all my life, but I never actually discovered it until the end of my marriage 5 years ago. That kind of switched something on big time. And I decided, that I needed to represent the emotional turmoil that I'd been through, that I'd gone through, and to a degree still going through, in some respects. The whole experience of coming out of a 29-year relationship, and that was the kind of lid on the jar of essentially a change of my life that happened 28 years ago when I lost my poor mum. And then on the back of that, I then experienced the loss of my son, and then the loss of my dad, and then the loss of my wife. And it all kind of crescendoed into being something that I think has been very deep inside of me all my life. So I'm doing several projects, and it's an ongoing thing. This is not kind of time sensitive at all, which will hopefully end up in touring shows, representation across the world in various art galleries, fine art coffee table books, which is also a lot of the stuff that I do. And hopefully we'll end up in a placement in either Tate Modern, V&A, Photographers Gallery. That's what I'm after. Before the co-op knock on my door, that's the plan.
Wow. Well, I have to say I didn't research very well then, because I didn't know about your son. I knew that your mum and your dad
Yeah.
had gone, but I didn't know about your son.
Yeah.
Which bits you want to talk about there, and talk a bit more about the work that you're doing, because that's very interesting too.
Well, this is totally what I'm about, really, totally what I'm about. And to be honest, like I say, Alex, I never really knew that there was this kind of thing, this cancer inside eating away. You know, I mean, I live my life purely by my heart and my head and the creative side of what I do. You know, I term it as just this side of sane, because it's a very strange place that I live. And when I say that, I mean mentally. You know, I'm always pushing the line, always moving it. You know, I never get there. It's a real kind of fight between the two people inside your head. You know, these two characters that are inside my head. And this thing then was born out of that, and it was literally like a liberation. It was, holy shit. You know, this is it. I've now discovered what's been shagging me out all my life. You know. And it was a collection of all those things over such a long time. And the first part of the project I titled as Loss. So this whole thing documents every single emotion that I have been through, essentially now over my whole life, but certainly over the past 28 years. And I didn't want it, you know, where a musician would write songs and that kind of stuff. You know, Phil Collins is a great example, you know, of that kind of stuff. I thought, no, you know, that's not my bag. It's not my gig at all. You know, what I do is I create art, I create imagery. So I've shot a considerable body of work that summarizes every single emotion that you, me, anybody would feel, does feel, and lives with that on a 24/7 basis. So this is a story that goes right across the board. And the project is actually broken into 6 as it is now. And I'm about to start in the next couple of weeks on the next part of it. But it represents everything, a suicide attempt, everything, the full 9 yards. And it's incredibly dark. But I just kind of, how I did it was however I felt at that particular hour of the day, or whatever date that was, whatever month that was totally irrelevant. I would just document it. And it's all self-portraiture. And I've just, I did a show early June, my first London Mayfair show, which I actually hung 3 images from that, from those collections. But it touches on everything: sexuality, passion, hatred, you know, love, the full Monty, everything, you know. And hopefully you'll be able to come to one of the shows when the thing actually goes out on the road.
One of the shows, but I mean, this is a revelation for me, and actually, I think I want to say it's incredibly brave of you to do that, but I don't think it's brave of you, because as you say, it's in you. But I think for other people, one of the reasons that we have so many issues is because we don't talk about stuff, and we don't express ourselves, and we don't have permission to express ourselves. So where this is feeling a bit like it's almost rebellion, you are saying, this is how I felt at every stage, look at it. I actually think that's really useful for you as well, because you're outing it. You found an outlet of being able to express yourself. Where
it is a cleansing. Yeah, it is. Right. It's like, if you want to term it, the devil within. Yeah. You know, although it isn't a devil within. It's Nick Elliott as you see it.
Yeah.
From the floorboards up.
You know, I like that, Nick, because I think that too often people look at people and make assumptions, and I think if you're a survivor, I'm a survivor. I really believe I'm a survivor, and a lot of members of my families have survived stuff. And I think, you know, if you get to a point, you either, and this is my own stuff. It's not your stuff. I'm not telling you how
Yeah,
you. I'm using that word. You can either say, "This is it for me. I can't do any more. I'll just become lost in it,"
yeah,
and tell people, well, it's because I'm depressed. I'm not saying that people don't have a right to be depressed. I'm just
yeah,
saying
yeah, yeah. Sure.
rise from the ashes and you say, I'm going to use it. I'll use it because by using it, I can explore it. I can try to understand it a bit more and I can help myself. But alongside that, you can probably help a lot of other people because when you're influential, they look at it and think, I felt like that. And he's okay. He's okay. So I can. They're surviving talking about it, so it's okay to do that.
Yeah, I mean, without a doubt, it wasn't the whole concept of what I'm doing wasn't designed initially to help people because, in all honesty, half of it's bloody crazy, and it shows crazy. It really does because that's where I was.
But Nick,
The
crazy goes with life events though, and I think that we skate over it too much. On my in my other hat, I work with loss, and the
Yeah,
amount of people that write to me and say, I am crazy, I know I'm crazy, I'm having this thought, that thought, the other thought, I don't know who I am anymore, and when they died, I died too, and now I've got to find who I am, and I'm just left with loads of stuff and I don't know which bits are me. And this kind of stuff that we just don't talk about. We kind of, I don't know if it's because most people want to stay safe with it, like you'll be okay, you'll get over it, but you don't ever get over it, do you? You don't. You live alongside all your losses. They're with you in your bags every day.
well, I don't. I've never got over the loss of my mum,
No.
not at all.
Oh,
For me, life, and I hate these kind of terminologies, but goes on. But it's different. It's
yeah.
different. But you see, I think for me, um, I'm a very realist type of person. I don't conform, and I think certainly, and I won't get too political or kind of social as it, I could easily do. Um, it's certain things are accepted in this country. You now have to be XYZ. Everybody drives a bloody BMW. Everybody drives an Audi. You can't afford a BMW. You know, you know what I'm saying.
I
Um,
do.
and, and I don't subscribe to that kind of stuff at all. And I think that the whole country, again, I'll just stay light on this, but it's lost its personality, it's lost its identity, it's lost its individuality,
And by
and
doing
it's
that,
gone. It's gone.
creating this sheeple, as we say, we are
Oh,
losing
totally.
creatives, our innovators, because when we don't allow people to be creative and to have a mind of their own, then we don't develop. We become sheeple. We listen to what other people say and we do as we're told. So I'm with you on that one. I'm
Oh
absolutely.
yeah, that's big time. I mean, Alex, I could sit here and talk 24 hours about this subject. I really could. You have no idea of how deep that is to me. But
I do.
I think
I do.
it well, it really is. I mean, I'll touch on certain things like the music business. Of which, as you know, I've been around all my life.
Yes.
It's sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Yes, it is. But it's now very clean. We drink leaf tea and all this type of stuff, and we go to bed at 9 o'clock at night. It all that Sex Pistols thing, all that Aussie stuff. Obviously because of Aussie the other night in Birmingham. It's gone. It's gone. And soon as you take away attitude, you take away anger, rebellion, you've then got no personality and nothing actually moves forward. It just all moves together very slowly, like a kind of ice plateau. That's how it is. And you haven't got standout things because in this country it's been bred out. It's been bred out. It's no good. People who
Talking
won't accept. you can go, you can piss off. We don't want you. Don't want
Yeah.
you.
I mean, we're killing expression. We're killing personality, individuality. When you
Oh, it's
do.
gone. Yeah, it's gone. It's gone. Yeah, it's gone.
Do you talk to strangers? I do still, and some people are quite surprised when you talk to them, but I try to talk to as many strangers as I can because I think people are losing the art of communication and we're frightened and we're taught to be frightened. Be frightened of everybody. Everybody's dangerous. They're all out to get you. Not
Well,
true.
that's nonsense as well, isn't it? That's totally nonsense as well.
I meet are great. And I talk to lots of people all the time, and I love people. In fact, even the ones who are crazy.
Well,
they,
I think crazy's good. I think crazy's good because if you're crazy, you don't know what everybody else is doing and what's really going on. So it don't matter a shit, does it? You know, and you live in an individual world. You live in your own head, whatever that may be, in your own house or however however you do it, whatever you do. That for me gets my full support. I endorse that big time. I do. It's all about individuality. It's all about that. Not only in art and certainly what I do, I've spent all my life, like that, all my life, in every way. My views, my opinions, my style, my dress sense, my art, the whole thing. Yeah, I'm big time on that, big time.
Yeah, my father was in the clubs, and I didn't go to school very much, so I didn't.
Okay.
I was never taught the boundaries. Thank God. Just
Oh yeah.
involved I am, so I've got my own opinions and my own things and my own ways of doing things, and some people do struggle with that because I don't understand a lot of the rules that we have. If a rule doesn't make sense to me, I won't apply it. I mean,
No.
something, I just think, where are we going? Where are we going? And it is so sad. And there is a them and us, isn't there? There's becoming
Oh
this.
yeah. Oh yeah, big time, big time. Yeah, it's a bloody nonsense. It is. It really is. Like I say, I could rabbit on like this for a long time about very deep things. But in saying that, there is a positive side to it for me. There is a positive side to it for other people, will say, like me, who recognize that that is what's going on and they don't want to buy into that gig. They don't want anything to do with it. They want to be individuals. So these people are, obviously dying out. It's a small kind of minority that of people are like that. But at least when people recognize that that is the case and they can, and I'll use the term loosely, be free in whichever way, speech, creative arts, etc. I think that's a good thing. And then what it gives those people is standout. And that's exactly what's missing from this country and society.
It's very sad, isn't it? I feel like I mean, I don't know how old you are, but I feel like I've lived through a massive change. And the amount of things that are lost to us now that were there, just
Well,
say the freedom to to just be people. I mean, gosh, children today, they are so I don't know about you, but I was allowed to go out and play till late, ask a stranger the time, and
yeah.
that's lost. And I think that being able to do that gave me a greater sense of intuition. So I'm safer. I know I can pick up from people if they're not quite somebody that I want to be around. But I don't think today's kids will have that, because how can they?
No, I excuse me. I totally agree with that. I really do. I mean, unfortunately, I don't know too much about the family kind of unit. Obviously, not being lucky enough to be in that kind of situation, but it's going the wrong way without a shadow of a doubt. That summarises it really. But there's nothing you can do. There's nothing you can do. It's gone way beyond the point of saviour. It's like saving the world and let's look after the planet and all this nonsense.
You just
Stupid.
Too small and your energy runs out, doesn't it? You just have to focus on yourself really and say, well, I'll be as good as I can. and I'll do what I can, and that's it.
Oh yeah, I think so. Yeah, and with the people around you, that's what it's about. And you know, if you're in that kind of situation where sometimes you know people come up to me and approach me, and you know, you're Nick Elliott, blah blah blah, and fantastic, wonderful to meet you. You know, you tick all their boxes. You tick all their boxes. You know, you're a lovely guy because I am a lovely guy, or I think so. You know, and you give them the time and you give them everything that they hoped, you know, would be the case. I'm very kind of opposite to don't ever meet your heroes because you're always disappointed. Well, no, that's not the case. It's never been the case with me, not at all.
No, and you give them the time, and then they go away feeling like, yeah, I was right.
Oh yeah,
We ever must underestimate that, giving people time, even if we're not well known or some
totally. Yeah,
just
totally.
giving someone the time. You can never know the difference you might make.
No, and well, I mean that's very much my kind of upbringing, and that was really from my mum because my mum was a very social person. You know, mum would kind of go to the shop, and what would be a 20-minute job would take 2 hours. You know, because she'd say, "I saw Vera. Where you been? I was got talking to Vera or whatever." You know, mum was very much that kind of thing, and even you know, my home is a family home. You know, it was nothing unusual for, you know, 20 motorcyclists, Hells Angels, you know, rockers to tip up and then fry breakfast on a Sunday morning. It was nothing unusual. You know, that's what it was. You know, and it wasn't. It was all very adult, and you know, it was all, you know, thank you, Mrs. Elliott, and all this kind of stuff. And you know, it was crazy when you saw some of these people, but it was just something that has always been instilled in me, you know. And each week it was compulsive for my mum to phone each one of her brothers and sisters, and she would do that every week, you know, and then they would do it back to mum the next week. You know, it was something that was, you just did it, that's it. You know, it weren't a case, oh well, I'll give you a ring sometime, and it's 6 months later you ain't bothered. It was literally like scheduled in. My mum always did that, and
Think,
that's been handed down. Sorry.
interrupt you. Do you think then that this massive sense of loss, well, it's not a sense, it's a reality. So this, do you think that came because you had had such a lot of family and support and everything around you, and slowly that's been stripped away?
Yeah, totally. Because because I mean, obviously, you know, you are either a son and daughter of your mum and dad, whatever that be. But the reality of it is, my mum and dad, not in the literal sense, but they made me what I am today. My values, my qualities, you know, the things I believe in, that comes from my mum and dad. All I did was then hone them skills, you know. But it all comes down to mum and dad. It always does. Or certainly, a lot of people, obviously, who will watch this may well disagree with that, but that is certainly the case where I'm concerned.
No, I think that's absolutely the case where you're concerned. So I can see. So there's no mum and dad, and the wife's gone, and the child is
Yeah,
gone.
yeah,
You know, so why wouldn't that leave you in this dark place? And perhaps if you hadn't got the capability to express that and to out it, as we said at the beginning, maybe you wouldn't have survived it, Nick.
no, I wouldn't have done. No,
No.
I can categorically state that. Categorically state that. You know, there's been a series of events that have happened, as obviously there is in everybody's life. There's points where your life changes, where you know various different things happen, whatever it is, and I can cite all them. I can cite everything that's happened from, you know, me being just a small little boy, and I thought that is where my life changed to this, you know, and without a doubt, that kind of thing happened at a massive rate over the first 12 months of my kind of separation from the wife, without a shadow of a doubt. All so many things kind of plugged in that had been there, and I thought, Christ, that's and I'd wake up at 4 o'clock in the morning, and shit, this is what I should be doing, and this is what has gone on. It's really, I'm a very spiritual type of person, very, and I believe that it's all fated. The whole gig is totally fated, and most of this stuff that I'm talking about, in my view, and I'm not trying to sell this to any Tom, Dick, and Harry or anybody else, came from my mum and dad and Jesus. That's where it came from. And it still continues to do that. I'm not a religious guy.
Because I have a faith. I wouldn't sound religious. I don't go to church, but I do believe. I've been saved a few times, I think, and can't quite. I mean, I don't know if you. I don't think you have. But there was a time when I was a runaway and I was living on the streets, and I think, how come I survived that when other people didn't? And I think I have always had resilience, but like you, I've had suicidal thoughts at times when I was very, very young. And how did I go up that road? And I think resilience, something in me, maybe, I can't quite say what it is, but I think it also goes alongside this enabling, this being your own person, this, I think that's something, where you can kind of dig deep. There's something to dig in, maybe to pull on. So like you, I found ways of expressing it, and and it's given me a great love for people, because they may well look at me and think, but you've never experienced that, and I think they'd be quite surprised if I said, well, yeah, actually, I have. So how come you're where you are? Well, because I'm able to express it, probably, as you've said. So we've said that this has saved you. Is this the story that you're working on at the moment, then, that you're filming?
No, that's the story so far, which is the title of the documentary. It's a 2-hour documentary that is literally documents my life to present. And it starts from being a small boy, right throughout the growing up process, because I mean, this is all I've ever done. I'm a working photographer. I'm a working artist. I've never done anything else. I've never wanted to do anything else. And I'm in it to be the best, to change things, to leave the legacy of when I kind of croak it and it's all over. People will own my work, which they do now, but it'll be, that's a Nick Elliott. That's the whole object of doing what I do. And so I was approached by the production company, A-Turn Films. This was probably about two and a bit years ago, just before Boris shut the door and the COVID thing we all got a cold. And we started, he said, I'd love to do a documentary on you, documenting everything. And I said, providing it's unedited, it's out the desk, as we call it in the music business, So, because I'm very explicit. I swear a lot. It's part of the gig. And I curb it on here because it's very difficult to do that.
Well, you don't need to, because I say over 18s, and I don't.
Okay, well,
about that.
But and I said to Andy, I said, look, I'll do it on the proviso. That's it. You shoot it, we run it, we print exactly what happens and is there. So if it's a load of bollocks, you run it. You run it. That's it. You shoot it. So we started that, like I say, probably about 6 months before the lockdown. We got into kind of doing the various different concepts of the content of it, and then the pandemic hit, and we kind of had to ice it, for pretty much 18 months, nearly 2 years. And we've started that last year. It's moved along now at quite a rate. So I was working with Simon Collins, Phil Collins, his son, earlier on this year. So Andy came out there, the crew documented the whole thing and everything. We've documented the whole thing. So it is literally a documentary about me, Nick Elliott, rock art photographer, the artist, and his life. What he thinks to everything, what he thought to everything, what he thinks to the bollocks that's to come, and the work, the books, the fine art, etc. Sorry?
I keep talking over you, Nick. That is so like your dad, because your dad was documenting his stories about the whole and capturing himself for the future. You've got these artwork.
It was the family. It was the family that Dad did, you see. And like if you go back to the previous earlier conversation, when we went on holiday, me and my brother would have our little suitcases and we'd stand there on the platform, and the train would come in, and Dad would document the whole thing from start to finish of the 2 weeks. And I've got thousands of images and negatives that are all still there.
Wow.
That Dad took, and he shot film because that's what it was in those days. Color film, when that was really commercially available, Dad really got into that. And then he moved on to instant when Polaroid released their first really high-end instant camera. So you were literally, Dad would see something on a beach or whatever, that's it, snap it, and you'd have a shot, and it's probably about 7 years ago. I did a book, which was my 6th book, I think, that I've done, titled Ice Cream and Sun Cream, that I dedicated to my dad.
Oh, I'd love to do that, Nick.
yeah. I've got copies here, so we'll have to catch up, and I'll bring it along and let you have a look.
I would love to see that. I would love
that
to
was
memories of my own childhood then.
Oh Christ, it was wonderful, because it took 2.5 years to shoot the project. And what I did, I shot every image from the height of an 8-year-old boy, which is how old I was when my dad gave me my first camera. So if I was 8 now, that's what I saw through the eyes of an 8-year-old lad 7 years ago. And then I put that into a book, like I say, entitled Ice Cream and Sun Cream, and it documents the whole process of family going on holiday, but how I would see it now at the age I am, but from the height of an 8-year-old lad, if that makes any sense.
It makes perfect sense. Yeah, I'd love to see it. I'd like to see some of these old photos as well, though, because I've
got hundreds of them. Again, it's wonderful. It's wonderful. I love all the old stuff, the stuff that Dad did, because unfortunately, a lesson that I've learned is a lot of these had never got my dad in because Dad was taking them. So it was it was me and Gary, who's my brother, and my mum, and it's a bit of a gas when you get to this kind of age to find, unfortunately, your poor dad isn't here anymore, and you want to reflect, and Dad ain't in most of the shots, which is a drag.
Like you did it with the 8-year-old boy, you'd see it with his eyes then, wouldn't you? Although you're seeing it with his eyes, you're seeing what he saw.
No, forgive me for correcting you. No, not strictly, no. I see everything my way. And again, my dad, what I do and why I do it is very much down to my dad. Definitely why I do what I do is down to my dad, because he was the guy that gave me my first camera. He's the one that we took pictures, and we used to go down to the little field down the road of where there was horses in, and we'd walk down and go and shoot a horse on a Sunday afternoon. Then we'd go back to the makeshift art room at 51, and Dad would do prints and contact sheets and all this, you know. And then when
I think what I was saying there was like when you look at his work,
yeah,
though he's not here, so you haven't got many photos of him. And although you interpret it through what you see, you're still seeing what he saw.
yeah, I suppose you are. Yeah.
That's what I meant. So that would bring you close. Well, it would certainly connect me, because I would start to be thinking, what was he thinking when he took that? What might he have been thinking? Because he obviously wanted to capture that particular thing. So it would be a great connection. That's why I use that to him.
Yeah,
Although
no, I forgive me. I now understand what you mean.
yeah.
I mean, I can amplify on that more, because I don't, in all honesty, Alex, I don't need a connection, because the connection is always there. My mum and dad are here all the time, and still the influence of what they do and that they have on my life is massive, despite the fact that they're no longer here, you know. So, but yeah, I take the point that you're making about the connection.
Yeah. Yeah, you're very lucky to still have that sense of them, I think. Yeah.
Well, I think it's just again, I don't really think it could be. You could term it a state of mind. I personally don't agree with that. I don't think it is a state of mind. I think it's a little bit more than that for me. You know, without a shadow of a doubt, it is. There's a feeling, there's a presence, there's, you know. Sorry, I missed that.
Energies. I'm thinking of the energies, because I sometimes have that myself, where I can feel that they're not entirely not there. You can't see them.
Yeah. It's a bit of a special gig. It is.
Hmm. So where are you now with your journey through that, the photographs and the logging your life? Where are you? Have you finished that project, or is it ongoing forever? I suppose it is.
Are you talking? Forgive me for talking over you. Are you on about Story So Far, the documentary?
No, I've gone back to the photographs that you
Right.
depicting your journey through loss.
Ice Cream and Sun Cream. That project is now done, and luckily enough, I managed to get that finished before I lost my poor dad. So he experienced, you know, the final collection and body of work. With the Lost project, no, that's an ongoing thing. That will now be an ongoing thing 24/7. I still work a lot in the music industry. I not that will be always there, because it's me. It's what I am. You know, that's what I am. But this is an ongoing thing. It's not time sensitive. The object is to, like I say, to tour. Well, certainly the UK, various parts of the world. I'm hoping to go out to the US next year to do a Nick Elliott US tour out there, which has been shelved for the past 2 years because of the COVID issues and all that, you know. So that is all part of it. And the show will consist of meet and greets, one-to-ones, and I would just sit there on stage and I would tell the story of my life and how I've come to be where I am, the richness that I've kind of lived with and still do, because you can't put a value on the richness of my life. You know, it's been rock and roll, baby, rock and roll, you know, and but it's been great. It's been great, you know. If I was to kind of smoke it today, it wouldn't really matter. You know, I would look at it and say, well, Jesus had enough. I'd done my bit. Hasta la vista, I was gone, you know. But yeah, it's an ongoing thing. The books now feature very much on the menu, because I've got my own publishing company that looks after the books and the fine art stuff. And it's the natural step for me to go. you know, to literally do this stuff, put it out there in books, touring exhibitions or whatever it is. And there you go. I'm done. I'm done. I'm done. You
Moving
know,
on,
I can't do no more.
'cause you'll
Sorry.
be, it will be ongoing. Of course it will, because you'll be documenting this until the day you die.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, totally. In fact, I should document the death
I thought you would.
if I can. You know, oh God, yeah, yeah. Because I mean, certainly part of it, you know, the Lost Project, it's probably not for your viewers, for us to talk about it now. But I mean, I'm more than prepared to do so. But it documents a suicide attempt. That's what it documents. The whole nine yards.
Why would you say that it's not the views? You see, that's what gets me. We hide away from that, and I think we shouldn't. We shouldn't, because you know, when people are feeling that, if we opened it up and allowed them to express it more and talk about it, and didn't say, oh no, you know, we don't want to know about that, maybe they wouldn't they wouldn't go ahead and do it, because
Well,
perhaps it's
I think hopefully when this stuff is actually showcased, um, it will possibly stop some of those things happening, because it's literally you'll see this stuff, and I mean it's raw, darling. It's raw. It's heavy shit, you know. And
what,
people would.
let me ask
Sorry.
you, what actually did stop you then? What stopped you?
Actually, it crossed that point of no return, and it was a friend that stopped it. My best friend, a guy called Lindsay Barn, who I've known for 35 years. He was there, and the brief and everything was to shoot whatever happens, shoot the bastard, whatever. And that's literally what he did. But it was a case of where I then slipped into unconsciousness. Lindsay got the rope off the neck and all that kind of stuff, you know. And I'm here to tell the tale, despite the fact that I've got a serious neck problem that I didn't have before. But you know, so oh yeah, it's for real, and it's for real. It's there's nothing that's falsified. It's not mocked up. It is as it happened. End of. That's it. And if it had been the case of where I would have died, that's it. And the instructions to my people that work with me is to, you know, this stuff must live on after I've gone, categorically.
Yeah.
You know, and it's not there, Aleks, to educate people or stuff like that. That's not what I'm about at all. What I'm about is that people have to find what they need from the stuff that they see that I produce.
You know, there's a great relief. I've found this with lots of people, and people have told me some deep shit in the years that I've worked with loss. And one thing that shines out of that for me is when I am able to say to them, somebody else has told me this same thing. Because you can feel so isolated with some of this stuff that you think you are crazy. You think I'm the only person that ever felt like this. I can't possibly tell anybody where my thoughts are, because they'll think I'm crazy. And I just, you know, the relief you see in people. So I do feel that I mean, I tend to think, and I'm going to say it, the people who will find it the most frightening are the people who are afraid to face anything, really. It's a
Possibly.
reality. It's a reality. And they are the people who actually cause the most problems, because they block other people from doing things. These are the people, and I'll probably really get lambasted for this, but I don't care. These are the people who say something is too bad for you to see. They make a decision for you. You know, if your child has died, or if there's been a horrific accident, these are the people who, funeral directors and people like that, who say,
Yeah,
no,
yeah, yeah.
see, where I think that immediately sets you up for fantasy. And when you fantasize, it's endless. When you see something as it really is and are able to process it, there is an end to it. So you can relate to it, see yourself in it, see that you're not alone. I think that's the most important thing, that there will be a lot of people who will that will resonate with. And
Yeah, I mean, I know whether sorry again to talk over you, the importance of my close friends,
mhm,
you know, and I'm talking proper friends. A lot of these I have known virtually all my life.
mm,
You know, I'm quite choosy. I'm that kind of thing. You know, I don't have oodles of friends. I don't go drinking in pubs and all that kind of shit. You know, everything is very private. It's very intimate. You know, and all my friends are like that. And I owe those people a hell of a lot, a hell of a lot. Um, but it was never done for effect,
mm,
Alex, which is one of the reasons why, you know, I'm a little bit kind of reluctant to talk about these things.
yeah,
When the thing is hanging on a wall or it's in a book, there you go.
yeah,
Do whatever you want. Look at it, view it, get whatever you need from it, whether that be love, sadness, emotion. Stand there crying, think he's a mad fucker. You know, it doesn't matter. It, if that's the case, the job is done because
What,
it's gone where it needs to go.
what you've done is captured your life experience, good and bad, then.
Yeah.
Um, Good and bad is even a matter of definition, isn't it? It's how you
Oh,
look at it.
totally. Yeah.
But I suppose what I'm trying, it's the lack of, we've only got this lack of communication because we don't talk enough about this stuff. But I do honestly believe that this stuff shouldn't be hidden away, and that when people look at it, whatever resonates within them, it could be a very useful thing for them, because
Oh, definitely.
to see how things can look so dark that there doesn't feel like there's any chink of light in there, and then to see emergence again is a good useful thing. But you can't
Yeah.
tell them, they need to experience it for themselves.
Oh, yeah. I think all these kind of things, Alex, are personal. You know, and like counselling and stuff like that. You know, I know it helps some people.
I
You
know.
know, I,
Counselor, I hate the word. I can't think. Do you know what? That's one thing. Now I've got to say this. Counselling. I say support. And the only reason that we need a support and we might need a stranger like me is because perhaps we haven't got this fantastic family. Or like when I was a kid, the woman down the road who constantly had the kettle on. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
this
yeah,
gone, this community is gone. And so
yeah.
people are quite isolated. So counselling, I don't know, I prefer to say support, but I had to get that in.
Yeah, no. Whatever. Like I say, I don't expect people to subscribe to my views. This is not a Charlie Manson kind of gig. You know, you've got to believe me because I'm talking. I know what I'm talking about. Bollocks! I don't know what I'm talking about. Not at all. In a technical sense, what I know, what I'm talking about, is where I am, how I feel, how I felt. That's it. You either buy it or you don't. And if it helps, it does. If it doesn't, well, you know, it's just not going to work.
That's right. If you don't, don't look at it. I think choices are great. It's
Yeah,
what we
well,
love, really, isn't it?
that's what it's all about. Right to choice. That's
Well,
what it's all about.
listen, I've really enjoyed this because it's different. It's been different, and because I think anybody that knows you can talk to you about your music, and I love your music choices, by the way, very eclectic. Love
Oh,
it.
thank you.
And yeah, so maybe we can have another one at another time
Love
when you're
to. Yeah.
when you finish the story so far.
Well, I mean, yeah. That again. That was scheduled to kind of be pretty close to finished now, but because of the gap that we encountered with the pandemic nonsense, it got held up. But to be honest, I mean, something that we have discussed, me and the production company, and that is that this may be something that rolls on,
Yeah.
because, you know, every day in the life of Nick Elliott life is another giggle, bag of shit, you know, satisfaction, whatever it is. So you know, it's not a case of, okay, when this is done, thank you, good night, see you next tour. It's not that. It's an ongoing thing. And it's an ongoing thing because for me, there is no end to what I need to do for myself. You know, the only thing that'll end that is literally when I'm toast, you know. So
when you're on tour, the story only goes up to that moment.
oh, always. Oh,
And
yeah,
then,
yeah.
so the next tour picks up from that moment. I mean, that's brilliant.
Oh, yeah. It never, it isn't a finish. Oh, well, we've done that bit. That's it. We'll do something different next time. No, it's not like that. It's a rolling thing, you know, which changes essentially every week. It's all the same kind of concept, the same deepness, the same reason, but you know, it may be a case of like with the Simon Collins thing, you know, it came up just out the blue, you know, and which took me to Ireland, you know, and we hung with Simon Collins, you know, for a week, and I'm due to go back, you know, and there's no kind of structure with it. Just these things just happen, you know. That's it. They happen, and when they happen, you just get on board with it. And because the documentary is a rolling thing, you know, it's there. There's no really end to it. There's no really end to it unless I turn around and say I've had enough. I don't want to do it.
But even that will be documented. So that's it.
Oh, totally. Oh, yeah, yeah. Even if blow me fucking head off, you know, we'll document it. It'll be a book, you know.
There's loads, honestly, there's loads more that I could talk to you about. I know how busy you are, and I'm so glad that we finally managed to do this.
No, it's been a total pleasure. It really has.
You know,
Been a total pleasure.
If we get another hour free, let's do some more, because I'd love to talk to you about stuff like synchronicity. I think you've probably got loads of those sorts of stories and things.
Yeah, yeah. It was a good album. It was a good album.
Love love to do that. But Nick Elliott, for now, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And
it's been a blast, Aleks. It really has.
Thank you.
It really has. Thank you for inviting me on.
Thank you.